Welcome to Above Replacement Radio. I am your host, Chris Gianta. You know what Christy Mathewson wasn't worried about? SIERA. When you're thinking about Pedro Ciriaco, I mean, the only one that can compete is maybe Hannes Wagner's 1908 season. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Kern.
Like, if we just clip together every time we've talked about him on other people's profiles, we've done a Mickey Cochran episode.
I can't get past Rabbit Marinville. It's not necessarily Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily above average, but we can guarantee you we are better than just the standard replacement level college sophomore.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball kind of whenever. I'm your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Kern. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I am doing very well. You and I are coming off a big weekend in baseball. Pretty good business trip for us. Not related to this pod, but still a very fun experience.
Oh, yeah. Most people go to Martha's Vineyard to relax, let loose, but we went to make some good content. And I think that's exactly what we did.
We did not see the Obamas, but we did see Ryan Ignacio, Colton Ledbetter, some of the top talent in the New England Collegiate Baseball League. Yeah,
and let me tell you, I think Ryan Ignacio and Colton Ledbetter can hit the ball farther than the Obamas. So
yeah.
So I think it was.
I think Michelle could have put one over those trees in left field though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Sasha's going 450 dead center. For those unaware, Daniel and I are interns for the NECBL, which is New England Collegiate Baseball League. It's up there with like the Cape Cod League as like top summer collegiate leagues in New England. There's a good amount of alumni. I believe like Steven Strasburg is an alumni.
Yep. Joe Nathan is an alumni.
Joe Nathan's an alumni. It's a good path to, potentially get into the pros. The All-Star game was at Martha's Vineyard. And we had minus transportation, it was like a 7.5 hour day. And then plus transportation, for me, it was like 7:15 a.m. to about 12:30 a.m. But
yeah, for me it was it was about, let's say 8:15 in the morning to 12:30 in the morning.
Yeah, and shout out to our colleague Ryan Moyer, who's also an NECBL intern, who was he had a longer trip than both of us. He was coming out of Maine.
Yeah,
had a 3-hour drive both ways, and that does not include the shuttle or the buses or
the other shuttle.
Yeah. Like
we had three forms of transportation from our cars to the field.
Yeah,
I get it. It made sense why we had it, but a lot of public transport for sure.
Yeah. And if you're interested in what we're doing with the NECBL, go to the NECBL podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Daniel and I are the hosts, but in our last episode, we had another intern, Zach Goldman, and this upcoming episode, we're going to have Ryan on.
Also, if you want to see what we did at the All-Star game, go to at the NECBL on Instagram. Check out the story highlights for All-Star Game 2022. We did quite a lot. We did. I mean, it was all day, nonstop content. There's a lot of stuff on there. It was a very good day, very fun for both of us. It was super hot. That was probably the one tough part of it, but whatever.
Yes. But yeah, good stuff. I myself was really baseballed out for the weekend. On Friday and Saturday. I was at Fenway.
That's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. I probably should talk about my experience watching
the worst game ever.
28 to the Blue Jays winning 28-5 over the Red Sox.
I wonder if that was Scorigami. I'm gonna check that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I hope.
It has to be.
I hope.
I wonder if you've ever witnessed Scorigami in football, and you could say that you have witnessed Scorigami in two sports, because I feel like that's an incredibly rare feat.
Yeah.
Because no one has witnessed Scorigami in person at a baseball game since the '90s, because the only one in our lifetime was the Braves Marlins one, but that was in 2020, so there was no fans.
Yeah, I think the weirdest score I've seen in NFL is like 55-31, but I feel like that I don't know. I feel like
It's probably
someone's
not a
done that.
Scorigami. I don't know.
But anyway, yeah, Friday night, I'm celebrating my dad's birthday. Fun fact, me and him went on his birthday to see Red Sox Blue Jays in 2012, and then 2022, Red Sox and Blue Jays are playing on his birthday. So we go, it's fun little full circle moment. And when we went in 2012, the Red Sox lost 15-7. And then when we went in 2022, they lost by an even bigger margin, 28-5. So I was there. It is
Scorigami.
Scorigami. So I witnessed a Scorigami.
The only 28-5 games since 1901.
Yeah. Speaking of since 1901, like I went, I did the research going into the game logs, and since 1901, that's tied for fourth most runs scored in a game. Only like a couple
Orioles,
have scored
Braves,
29.
And
Orioles, Braves most recently. Rangers beat the Orioles 30-3. But yeah. So yeah, and the Red Sox in a 3-game span gave up 55 runs. That's second most in a 3-game span since 1901. Shout out to the 1950 St. Louis Browns. They
had to be the Browns.
It had to be the Browns. They allowed more in a 3-game span. They allowed 56.
You said runs. 55-31. You said, sorry.
In NFL, yeah.
You know what? I think it says that there's only been one.
Does it say what game it was?
Patriots Steelers, November 3rd, 2013.
Yeah. There's only been one.
I could be wrong. I'm looking at the Scorigami website right now, but let me check.
Yeah, I was at that game, and the Red Sox, how like after the Red Sox win the World Series, they go to all the New England stadiums to get recognized. That was the game. And Red Sox or Patriots put a beat down on the Steelers. This isn't a football podcast, but that was a fun thing to go to.
It appears that there has been one.
Yes, I've witnessed a Scorigami in person,
two different sports.
That
is absolutely wild. Seriously, the odds of that have got to be like 1 in a million, and I'm not joking.
Man, I'm a lucky. I
might have to tweet at John Boyce.
Yeah,
right now.
I am a lucky fan. That's great stuff. That's great stuff right there. But anyway, at this game on Friday, it opens up. The Blue Jays scored a run in the first. They scored, I think, 2 in the second. Then they scored 7 in the third, 4 in the fourth, and then 11 in the fifth. That was pretty bad. Highlights from those 25 runs included Jarren Duran getting the ball lost in the lights, but I don't know, looking at it was in dead center field, and there's no lights coming at dead center field, so I don't know if it was the lights, but I don't know. I've never been out in center field at Fenway, despite popular belief. But and then another highlight was the classic pop-up falling through the middle of the infield, extending the inning. And then, after the Blue Jays scored their 25th run, and after they got the third out in the 5th inning, there was a proposal. I think it went slightly viral on Twitter from Mass Live's Christopher Smith. And that proposal was in the row directly behind me. So at least I got to witness some sort of happiness.
The only happiness that was felt in the ballpark all night on the
Yeah.
Boston side.
And like people online were kind of trashing it, but in person, everyone was congratulating them. Like, it's
Yeah.
Also it's like, it's not like he decided it was going to be after the 11-run inning. Like that stuff takes months of planning. You have to book it. Yeah. You have
It's
to
also
book it,
like hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars to do so.
yeah. You have to book it like months in advance. It has to be at a certain time, certain inning. Because they're never going to do it like the 9th inning. They're never going to do it the 1st inning.
Imagine a 9th inning proposal. Like it's a 1-run game, closers coming in, like everyone's getting fired up, and then just quick, will you marry me?
Yeah, like the Red Sox, when it's the bottom of the 9th and they're down, they play Shipping Up to Boston. So Shipping Up to Boston gets interrupted by by a proposal.
That would be the funniest thing. I would have to imagine they don't allow that. But
yeah, no, they can't do that.
That and like at Fenway, they definitely don't do it in the middle of the 8th either, because obviously.
Well, I mean, I guess technically you can propose anytime you want. You're just not going to be filmed by the
the Jumbotron.
By the Jumbotron.
Yep.
If you want to do it without the Jumbotron, fine by the Red Sox. But it's not.
I mean, there have been worse. Like there have always been like every couple of years or so, there'll be the scoreboard proposal where the girl says no.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Tough luck. Tough scene
out there. But it really is it really puts the pressure on the recipient of the proposal, because it's like you're gonna look so bad if you say no in front of 35,000 people.
I was to say, in that instance, you got to talk it out beforehand and be like, hypothetically, if I were to propose in front of tens of thousands of people, would you say yes?
Yeah.
Like just completely random thought. Not that it's actually going to happen, but like, I don't know, in that scenario, yeah, you gotta talk that one out for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, so once the Blue Jays got to like 19 runs, I was like, all right, I want to see 31. I want to see this record being broken.
Mm-hmm.
And
they get to 25 after 5, right?
They got to 25 after 5, so they were on pace for like 40 something. I knew that wasn't, as they say, sustainable. However, I figured position players were going to come in, and one ended up doing that. But the Blue Jays scored 2 in the 7th to make it 27-4 or something like that. And then, much to my disappointment, Jake Diekman and Hirokazu Sawamura throw 2 shutout innings.
Yeah.
Not really matching the theme of the night. And
they didn't get the memo.
Yeah, didn't get the memo. And in the 9th, the Red Sox bring out Yolmer Sanchez, who like I had just found out was on the roster. And no walks, no home runs. Actually, it's funny because I looked up some stats to prep for this episode, and Yolmer Sanchez is a 3.13 FIP. So shout out to him.
You know how I found out Yolmer Sanchez was on the Red Sox?
How?
I saw him like 10 feet away from me at Worcester. I was at that park. And I was just like, he ran by. I was like, is that Yolmer Sanchez? Like, is he on this team?
Yeah,
he was.
But yeah, he threw 1 inning. He allowed 1 run and prevented the Blue Jays from getting the record.
Wow. That's so much pressure.
Yeah.
Like, it's not your average position player pitching when it's 15-0 and it doesn't matter. Like, you actually, there was a lot going down. There's a lot of fate in that inning.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, hey, please do not give up 3 runs. I know you've never pitched before. I know you're throwing no harder than 60 miles an hour and you're facing one of the best lineups, but I'm begging you, do not give up 3 runs. We don't want to be the record holders.
Yeah, they got like Tanner Houck warming up in the. Yeah. They got Whitlock out.
They got Chris Sale coming back.
Yeah. Sale, we need you. We need you for this one.
It's like, I understand you have a broken pinky, but please.
So yeah. So the Blue Jays did not get the single game record. However, the Red Sox, the record they got was worst run differential in a 3-game span. since
Yes.
1900. So
Also the most runs they've ever given up in a game in franchise history.
yeah, and
Most runs the Blue Jays have ever scored, and they got that in the 5th inning.
yeah, congratulations to both teams. Quite the effort. uh, yeah, wonderful experience, and it's going to that is better than going to a 14-1 game.
For sure.
At least this is at least there's maybe some history, some implications. At least this is like a solid memory.
Yeah. Scorigami in 2 sports is miraculous, especially because like football, sure, like it could happen. Like it happens maybe like 10 times a year in football.
Yeah.
But baseball, I think it's the second one in our lifetime.
Yeah, right. Like
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, any broadcaster will be like, just when you think you haven't seen it, just when you think you've seen it all, you see stuff like this, and this is a moment. This is a moment.
Exactly.
This is Scorigami.
How many games have there been where a team scored 28 runs anyway?
Since 1901, 6.
Oh, I have 2. I have 20. I have obviously 28-5. Then I have 28-6 on
Or wait, at least or exactly?
Exactly.
Oh, exactly 28 runs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got 2. Yeah, I got July 6th, 1929. The Cardinals dropped 28 on the Philadelphia Phillies, I believe.
Couldn't be the Athletics. Couldn't be
the 1929 Phillies. Wasn't it the team with Lefty O'Doul and Chuck Klein having amazing? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's no wonder they were 4th in the National League.
It was the year that Lefty O'Doul and Chuck Klein had unbelievable years, both 5-win seasons. Yet the Phillies went 71-82-1, finished 5th in the National League, and one of those losses was 28-6 at the hands of the Rogers Hornsby led St. Louis Cardinals. Question mark? No, it looks like he was gone by that point.
He was on.
They had Frankie Frisch.
Yeah, they had Frankie.
They had Jim Bottomley. They had Pete Alexander at age 42.
Yep. So if I had to describe the environment of your team, of the home team, giving up 28 runs in a game, I think so. First inning they gave up a run. That's kind of normal. Like that's fine. Second inning, pretty normal. 3-0 after 2 innings is it's nothing out of the ordinary. I think the worst of it was the worst the crowd felt was Jarren Duran getting it lost in the lights and allowing a grand slam. That's when it was like
really allowing it too.
Yeah.
He was like, no, please just come around to score. Like, I'm begging you.
Yeah. So that was when the crowd was at its most negative. Top of the third, 10-0 Blue Jays. Then I think it was kind of emotionless in the 4th inning, and actually the Red Sox hit 2 home runs in the 4th inning, and it was just like they hit home runs in the playoffs. The crowd was going nuts. They were really enjoying those home runs, which I understand. You need something to root for. 5th inning was
49 total bases. Holy cow.
5th inning was fully giving up on the game. And then after that, everyone was just trying to have some fun. Like Sweet Caroline was not like half-hearted. People were just like, I'm going to have my fun where I have it. I know my team's down by 20, but I'm going to have my fun. So, they did the Sweet Caroline. Take me out to the ball game probably could have been better. I think some people just aren't into it in general.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think I've ever been into take me out at the ball game at any stadium.
And then, and I mean, also anytime a position player comes into pitch, I think everyone kind of enjoys it. It's amusing. I'm
trying to remember if I've ever seen a position player pitch, because I feel like I have, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm thinking about every blowout. I'm thinking of every blowout game I've ever been to.
Yeah, I believe that was my first time.
Nice. I don't remember off the top of my head. In terms of blowout games, I went to like a 13-4 game or something like that. I went to like 15-6 game, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a position player pitch. Now that I'm thinking about
there were times if you went to like a 2019 Orioles game and they were down by like 4, they would just throw out Stevie Wilkerson.
Yeah. Well, one time he got a save. I saw a Stevie Wilkerson highlight that I'll never forget.
Yeah.
It was that catch.
Yeah, that crazy catch.
It was it was game 162 in 2019. I found like really cheap tickets. I was like, it's the last game, and what ended up being like 8 months. Of course, I couldn't have known that back then, but I was like, whatever.
Right.
Like I'll be in Springfield. I'll go down to Fenway. Why not? And Jackie Bradley Jr. hit a ball in the bottom of the 8th that would have been the go-ahead home run. And Stevie Wilkerson makes this miraculous catch, like jumping halfway, like into the right field stands. He makes the catch. The Red Sox ended up walking off anyway. But it was the greatest catch I've ever seen in person, and just maybe ever.
Right. Yeah.
And I was in right field too, so I was like maybe 100 to 150 feet away from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a good view.
Yeah, that's an amazing sight to see.
Everyone in the Red Sox and Orioles bullpens were both like running out of front, like to the edge of the bullpen near the field to watch the replay on the screen. Like you don't see that very often. They were all like, I got to see that again. Yeah,
it was unbelievable. Yeah. So fun times at Fenway.
Yeah.
Is
Mookie Betts' last game with the Red Sox.
Yep.
Which we all knew going in that it was, of course.
Right.
Yeah, he got his standing ovation. There was a bunch of signs saying "Thank you, Mookie."
Yep. Thank you for your 5 years of service time. It's time to let you go.
Yep.
I wonder. I bet the Guardians are like a few years away from doing that. It's like, you've done 4 years of service time. I know you'll be on the trade market soon, unless you get underpaid by $90 million.
Yeah, minimum
like
90.
Ramirez.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess that transitions into the struggles of our favorite team, the Boston Red Sox, who actually got the win last night, because they weren't facing an AL East team, so they got the win.
They are still yet to win a series against an AL East team.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's pretty absurd. It's weird because it makes, I guess, sense because the division is very good, but it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it's a little disproportionate. Like, it's rough, but the Red Sox, so they have lost 17 out of 24. They are they have the 3rd worst record in this span. Only the Nationals and Angels have been worse than them, which is not company you want to be in.
No.
In this span, their team weighted runs created plus ranks 26th, but you could also argue their offense has been the best part of the team in the last 24 games.
Yes.
In these last 24 games, they have a 6.50 ERA and a 7.59 starter ERA. Both are worst in baseball since June 26th. And in fact, they haven't had a starting pitcher get the win since June 26th. It's been,
oh my God, it's been a month.
Today is July 26th.
Jesus Christ.
It's been a month since a starting pitcher has gotten the win. And wins are whatever, but still, that's a very, very bad sign.
I guess the All-Star break thing in there kind of helps out, but still.
They're 0-12 with a 7.59 ERA.
Mm-hmm.
Awful.
Wow.
Part of it, I will say, like, since June 26th, only like Eovaldi's only made 2 starts. He's coming back off his injury. Michael Wacha has been completely gone, I think. Or he may have 1 start sprinkled in there. Chris Sale, he came back and then went straight back to the IL after pitching, a total of 5 2/3 innings. I think Rich Hill had a little bit of an injury stint, or is he still injured? I don't know.
He is still injured, yeah.
So they've had to go to guys that are not major league ready. Like Cutter Crawford's actually been doing pretty well. He's he's a guy who's been in their system for a good bit. But they called up Brian Bayo, who has been climbing up the Baseball America ranks in prospects. I think he might be like top 25 or something. But he started the year in Double-A, and he's only 22, so he probably needed more time in the league. But
the Red Sox, oddly enough, have not been having him throw his sinker as much as he should. Like, that pitch was elite for him in AAA, and he's just, for whatever reason, not like the Red Sox have always been weird about sinkers. Like, they very rarely have had pitchers that throw them primarily. Like, since 2015, I think the only one you can really point to is like Tanner Houck. And even then, that's kind of just been a this year thing.
Right.
Bayo has thrown a sinker most of the time, I guess. So discount what I just said, but it feels like he should be throwing it even more because he's throwing his four-seam fastball 18% of the time, slider 19%. Like, I really do think you can get more out of the sinker.
Right.
He has a minus 0.9 launch angle right now. He has been getting BABIP quite a bit, I will say. If you look at his first start against the Rays, a lot of ground ball hits.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Garrett Whitlock, I will say,
for what it's worth, he has a 10.50 ERA, but his expected ERA is 4.60, which, I mean, obviously you're not going to have expected ERA of 10. It's just never going to be a thing. But for what it's worth, he should be better.
Yeah, Garrett Whitlock is he's probably the main sinker baller of the Red Sox. He throws a sinker 57.6% of the time.
But I don't even think he did that last year either. I think it's just a this year thing.
It's gone up by 4.2 percentage points, his sinker. What are your takeaways from the Red Sox struggles lately?
I mean, it's really I think this stretch, like the entire month of July, is really setting the scene for the Red Sox future. Like, they're probably going to sell at the deadline, if we're being completely honest. Like, I don't think the Red Sox, I know we've talked about this so many times on the pod, but the Red Sox are not going to put out a team that they think is good enough to make it to the playoffs and get eliminated in the first round. They either want a team that's going to win the World Series, or they're just going to try again. And there's been a lot of criticism going towards Chaim Bloom this year, and I do think he should be held accountable for a couple things, like not reinforcing the bullpen during the winter, not getting a big bat other than Trevor Story.
Trading Hunter Renfroe. Yeah,
trading Hunter Renfroe and for Jackie Bradley Jr. and not doing anything else to support that deal. And like, that criticism is all fair, but I think at some point you also just need to hold a lot of the players accountable for just not performing well. Like, Nathan Eovaldi, I think, has already given up more home runs this year than he did last year, and he also had a relatively large injured list stint. Like, that hasn't been good. A lot of the pitching, I mean, they have had a lot of injuries too, no doubt, but there are a lot of guys that have just been very underwhelming this year. It's basically everyone outside of like Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, JD Martinez. Like, Alex Verdugo has an 87 OPS plus right now. He's been hitting the ball on the ground way too much. Bobby Dahlbeck has been extremely disappointing. It's been just a lot of struggles on every which way you look. The bullpen was awful for a while while Garrett Whitlock was in the rotation. That was tough.
Yeah, I think what's been different with the Red Sox this year from last year is they haven't had like a guy kind of a merge out of nowhere. All the guys who are doing well for the Red Sox right now are guys that were supposed to be doing well.
The only guy that's really come out of nowhere has been John Schreiber out of the bullpen.
Yeah. And, even then, like, he's great, but like, it's a bullpen arm. So it's not as valuable as like a surprise coming at, in your everyday lineup. Oh, also, Rob Refsnyder has been actually a great surprise. I don't know what he's up to, but he's been.
But that's probably not a part of your future either. So.
Yeah, true. I will say Alex Verdugo, he's been getting a little unlucky. He has a 43-point difference in WOBA and xWOBA, but if his ground ball rate is probably not the best, but I should.
Red Sox, Red Sox have had 3 position players pitch this year.
Yeah, not great. Not
So
great.
Yolmer Sanchez, Jackie Bradley Jr., and Kevin Plawecki.
Yeah, Verdugo out of 158 batters with 200 plus batted balls has the third worst luck.
He has, but he also does hit the ball on the ground quite a bit.
Yeah. So overall, you're not getting what you want out of him. Bobby Dahlbeck, as you said, he's looking very bad, and especially like he's not providing great defense at all. So him being bad offensively is very alarming as well.
Some are saying they should have traded him last offseason after he had those great 2 months because that was the best value he was ever going to have. And I kind of get it.
Yeah, I kind of have to get it too. And then there also were some guys for the Red Sox that looked good early in the season, like Franchi Cordero and Jarren Duran, who are just really on a hard downslope right now. Like Jarren Duran has had some real troubles in the month of July. He was performing very well. However, I think the league is starting to figure him out a little bit. As I see since July 3rd, he is hitting 159 with a 463 OPS, 26 strikeouts and 67 plate appearances. And Cordero has been very bad recently.
What is it? Does he have like a 70+% strikeout rate since a certain day?
I think he does. Yeah. I think he does. And
he has some absurd. Yeah, he's in an absurd slump right now. I need to check that one out for right now.
Yeah, I'm parsing through the data right now. Since July 2nd, he's hitting 109 with a 383 OPS, Franchi Cordero. And that includes 30 strikeouts and 62 plate appearances, which is 48.3%. And that's over 18 games.
Since July 11th, he's slashing 037, 103, 037, 140 with 19 strikeouts and 27 at-bats.
Yeah. He's hitting like he's facing Edwin Diaz every time.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been rough for a lot of these Red Sox players. And yeah, so like those are guys who are coming in because some of the other guys are injured, like Kike Hernandez out in center field. He's been injured for most of the year.
Yeah.
Which has been more of a detriment than I think some people have realized. Even though he wasn't having a great year this year up to his injury. But I think defensively brings a lot. Offensively, I think he can go on some good runs. And then like pitching, it's partly injuries, partly underperformance. And that's a bad disaster.
By the way, going back to Franchi Cordero, he was 0 for 2 with 2 walks last night. If you take that game out from July 11th to July 24th, he was 1 for 25 with 1 single, and that was it.
Yeah, not great.
17 strikeouts in 25 at bats.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah.
It's
an 080 OPS.
So yeah, and Trevor Story's on the IL, and currently Rafael Devers is on the IL with a pulled hamstring. So, when like I was at the Red Sox game on Saturday, JD Martinez was out with back spasms. Franchi Cordero, the guy we just mentioned, who had a strikeout rate in the 60% in the 60s percent wise over 12 games. He was batting 5th.
Yeah,
he was batting 5th.
Bad.
Bobby Dahlbeck was batting 6th. He did hit a home run that game, but he has an OPS in the low 600s over a large sample size. And then Jackie Bradley Jr. hitting 7th. He's got an OPS under 600. And then
I was at a way more fun game that day, I just want to say.
Yeah, shout out
I
to
was
Newport in Vermont.
I was at the Newport Gulls versus the Vermont Mountaineers. Cardines Field in Newport, Rhode Island, by the way. It's a must if you're in the area. Like, it's a cool park, but it's just so weird.
Yeah,
Like that's the main reason you need to see it, is you just need to be there and be like, yo, what?
yeah. If I'm in the area, I might have to
Well, they're
go
gonna be in the
sometime.
playoffs.
Yeah, right. But
So why
yeah,
not?
I think also with this Red Sox team, they're not prepared to have a Rafael Devers injury. I mean, the day he was put on the IL, they put Jeter Downs at third, and defensively he's good, but offensively he's just been wretched since he's come
He has
up.
a 408 OPS, right?
Yeah, and he strikes out about 50% of the time.
Yeah.
So it's just nothing redeemable about him offensively so far. I mean, I know he's young, but
But he never even really learned to hit in AAA either. So
yeah, no, yeah, his OPS hasn't been above like 750 since he got acquired, since he was acquired in the Mookie Betts trade. Yeah, so the Red Sox, they're not prepared for a Devers injury. And yeah, they just have not been good. They're 12-29 against the rest of the AL East, and they still have a lot of East games on the schedule. They have 9 against the Yankees, they have 6 against the Blue Jays, 9 against the Rays. So not great. Yeah. And they have the third hardest strength of schedule remaining, behind Colorado and Tampa Bay.
Well, there's a team in the division that has a worse schedule than them.
Yeah.
If there's any hope that Red Sox fans need.
Right. But their current standing, they're 1 game above 500. They are 17 games out of the division. I mean, no one was ever since like mid-May, we've been putting that out of the possibility. But they are also 3 games out of the wild card. The Mariners surging did not help the Red Sox, and then you have the Rays and Blue Jays kind of performing how they were expected.
Yeah,
I think the Blue Jays have been doing pretty well after Montoya got fired, so good for them. So yeah, Red Sox.
This is going to be an interesting week for them because the trade deadline is a week away, I believe. It's on August 2nd this year.
Yeah.
So the trade deadline is a week away. As we're recording this, it's on August 2nd this year. And the Red Sox are going to be an interesting team. I said at the very beginning of the season, if this team underperforms, don't be surprised if they sell. And it looks like that very well may be the case.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, and I think one of the problems with that is, though, like, I think like the only guys that have value are the guys that have like really good value, like Xander Bogaerts.
I don't think they're trading Xander.
JD Martinez, Nathan Eovaldi. Those are the.
I'm thinking Eovaldi, JD Martinez, and Christian Vasquez might be going.
Right. Yeah, I could see that in the realm of possibilities.
By the way, I did not know until he was the MLB pickle that Nathan Eovaldi was 32. I thought he was much older. So that definitely makes him a much better asset than I had realized.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I like that 4-year deal that they got him on, which it looked like a disaster initially, but it ended up.
I'd say it was worth it overall, especially if it gets us something good at the deadline.
Yeah, pretty good for sure. I mean, was the 2021 AL F4 leader, if that means anything.
Yes.
But
fourth in the Cy Young voting.
But yeah. So that'll be very interesting. I can't see the Red Sox giving up anything valuable at the deadline. I wouldn't support it if they gave up anything valuable at the deadline. especially given it's not like it's going to get any easier for the Red Sox. As we mentioned, they have the third hardest schedule remaining. So yes. All right. Do we want to get into break down these playoff races?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is we haven't gone too deep into the standings. But there are some solid races, some races where maybe they're a little closer than we expected.
There's really only 3 division races at this point, which is kind of disappointing for this point in the season.
True. Yeah, we did expect the AL East to be a tight division race, but that is not the case.
Nah, it will not be the case.
But yeah, and there's some good wild card action. I mean, adding the third team definitely throws a nice little wrench into the mix, as they say.
I am very much in belief of that. Yeah.
MLB. I should bring up the strength of schedule for all these.
For sure.
For all this.
Well, I mean, if we're just breaking it down right now, the divisions that are basically over are the AL East, the AL West, and the NL West. The Yankees, Astros, and Dodgers have those pretty much locked up. They're all up by at least 11.5 games in the division. The other ones, the Mets are ahead of the Braves by 2 games in the NL East. The Phillies are 9 games behind, so they are just about out of it. But it's still possible that they could be in it again. The Brewers are 2 games ahead of the Cardinals and 13 ahead of the Pirates, so they're not going anywhere either. And then the Twins, Guardians, and White Sox are all within 4 games of each other.
Yeah. Some fun stuff in the AL Central, which is a division we expected to be kind of over by now, but it's not.
We expected it to be over in like June.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess we'll start with some division races. Do we want to start with the AL Central?
Yeah.
The AL Central, very interesting dynamic here. Guardians in the mix, which I didn't expect, and Twins leading by 3.5 games. They're 52 and 44. It's funny because the Twins are kind of doing what I expected them to do, but I didn't expect that result to be leading the division.
Yeah, I thought they would be. I think they were my sleeper team at the beginning of the year. It was either them or the Phillies. I don't remember. Anyway, my AL sleeper team was the Twins. My NL was the Phillies. Both of which are, I believe, in playoff spots right now. No, the Phillies are half a game out, but
yeah.
The Twins have been intriguing this year. I mean, the starting pitching, even with the injuries they've had, have been getting it done. Joe Ryan has been amazing as a rookie. If he didn't get injured, I think he's in the Rookie of the Year race, but he got injured and Julio Rodriguez is running away with it. Like Sonny Gray, I talked about his home road splits when he was in Cincinnati, and he's been proving me right so far, a 3.52 ERA. Chris Archer's been exceptional. He's kind of had a resurgence of the year, a 3.41 ERA. The FIP is very different, but you know what? He's been getting it done, no doubt.
Right.
Yeah. Bailey Ober got so unlucky when he was in the league. Wow. He's on the IL right now, but 280 FIP, 401 ERA. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, and then the Twins. Yeah, Twins are interesting. I just calculated it on my phone. They're on pace for 88 wins, which would be low for a division winner. But it's funny because it's like if you told the both of us before the season started, Twins are gonna win 88 games, we'd be like, yeah, that's pretty much right on par.
Yeah.
But we expected the White Sox to win, 95 plus, but that is not the case. So then you got the Guardians, who have stuck around. They've been in better spots this season, but I think they've also been in worse spots this season.
Yeah. Going back to the Twins, by the way, I have no idea how Johan Duran has 1.0 home runs per 9 allowed.
That
makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Right.
I also can't believe he used 1.7 walks per nine.
Yeah, right. Like
those,
yeah, if you have that type of stuff,
95-mile-an-hour sink or splitters.
Yeah, if you have that type of stuff, it might be hard to control it. But Johan Duran's looking like Greg Maddux with his.
I also think he hasn't given up a home run in a while, if I'm correct, because he gave a couple up early. He's given up one home run since May 6th. Since May 6th, 148 ERA, 33 strikeouts, 6 walks, 1 home run allowed in 30 innings pitched.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking at some schedule breakdowns. The White Sox and Twins face each other 9 more times. So I think that might be where this division could be decided. In terms of Cleveland and Minnesota, it looks like they're probably going to face each other 7 or 8 more times because they've played each other 11 times. So that should be interesting. And White Sox and Guardians, will be playing each other like I think 6 more times because they've played each other 13 times. Interesting wrench in the mix is the Twins have the 17th hardest schedule remaining, which is average. The White Sox have the 2nd easiest schedule remaining. That's interesting. They have 7 against Oakland, 9 against Detroit. So the White Sox are in a good spot in that realm. So that's good for them. I have a take.
All right.
The AL Central is still the White Sox to lose.
That's fair. I believe
Even though they're down by 4, like if before the season started, if you asked, can the White Sox be 4 games better than the rest of the division from July 26th on? I'd say yes, for sure. But I think we view it maybe a little differently right now because they're at a flat 500. But I'd say it's still their division to lose. They have too much talent, and they should win that division. The Twins are not overperforming. They're not doing anything crazy. It's just the White Sox have been underperforming by that much.
If the White Sox don't win the division, regardless of if they make the playoffs, and even if they do, what happens there has to be no excuse to keep Tony La Russa around, right?
No excuse. Well, actually, there's a very valid excuse that the owner and him know each other pretty well.
Yeah, which is perfectly understandable. Because, Rick Hahn spent years rebuilding this team and constructing the perfect roster for years like 2022 to have a manager that only the owner picked.
Yeah. And they've probably been friends since the 80s when La Russa was
also the manager of the White Sox.
And I've never had a friend beyond 20 years. So I think that's a very valuable relationship. And I think that's a perfectly good reason to hire a manager for a young developing team when he's 76 years old. I think that's,
and also has had an old school mentality this entire time.
Yeah. And throws his players under the bus when they celebrate.
Yeah.
When they do a perfectly normal thing, actually. Yeah.
And also intentionally walks guys on a 2-1 count.
Yeah. 1-2 count.
Or 1-2 count. Yeah. Even worse. Only because of a matchup where a guy has reverse splits.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly normal. I think I think anybody saying that is too inexperienced in life.
Yeah. And we haven't had friends for 40 plus years. How are we supposed to know? We didn't know anyone in the 80s.
Yeah.
No, I had no idea what I was doing back then. I didn't even exist.
Yeah, I didn't have a job in the 80s.
No, I was admittedly, I know it's crazy. I know I claim myself to be a baseball fan, lifelong baseball fan. I didn't watch a second of baseball in the 80s.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit. Yeah. So
Right.
you know what? I guess I don't know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, unfortunately I was not alive to see Ozzie Smith. So what do I know?
Yeah, like I didn't live in a time when I didn't live in a time when Roger Clemens was the best young pitcher in baseball.
Yeah.
Um yeah. Uh so yeah, I think so the White Sox, I'm looking at their page right now. I think the injury list is getting a little smaller these days, so that's good. Um, Lance Lynn has come back. Eloy Jimenez has come back. However, both are underperforming greatly right now. Yasmani Grandal has come back. It doesn't look like he's doing as bad as he was doing before. And yeah, the only significant guy on their roster who's on the IL right now, well, there's some. The only like everyday starter who's on the IL right now is Luis Robert, which that's not great, but they have kind of a full rotation right now. Most of their bullpen is healthy, so yeah, it's theirs to lose.
I just want to, while we're on the topic of the White Sox, I just want to shout out that John Boy tweet from a couple of days ago. You remember the one I sent you, where it was like the White Sox broadcast is using weighted runs created plus when they introduced the lineups. The future's here, even though they've been doing that for like at least minimum 2 years.
Yeah,
which was very funny.
Yeah, that is very funny. Like, it's like, yeah, it was probably their first time.
All you're doing is telling me that you don't pay attention.
Yes. Right. I don't know if anybody knew this, but Brandon Nimmo sprints to first base when he takes a walk.
Yeah.
So yeah. The AL Central should be interesting the rest of the year. I say it's the White Sox to lose. And they're currently at 500. They're 4 games behind the Twins. All right. We'll stay in the Central, National League Central. What are your thoughts?
I really don't know what to think of the Brewers or the Cardinals for that matter. I think the Cardinals honestly might still have a better chance at this one because I don't know. The Brewers just don't do it for me. Like their pitching has been, it's been Burns and Woodruff, but it doesn't feel like their pitching as a whole unit has been as dominant as it was last year. Like Eric Lauer just has been, on the season, it looks like he's been good, but he's been struggling as of late. Freddie Peralta on the IL for the rest of the year. Adrian Hauser is currently on the IL. Josh Hader had one bad day at the office.
Yeah.
Very funny. Josh Hader's his career ERA probably went up by like 0.01 or something like, or like 0.10 in one game at least, which was kind of funny because I don't know, like his whole season is going to get judged on one outing where he had 0.1 innings pitched, 5 hits allowed, 6 earned runs, 3 home runs. His ERA went from 2.73 to 4.50. He also gave up 3 runs in 0 innings pitched his previous outing as well. So in those 2 outings combined, 0.1 inning, a third of an inning pitched, 7 hits, 9 earned runs, 1 walk, no strikeouts, 4 home runs. That of course is a 243 ERA but to be fair, it is a 177.13 FIP. So he's getting unlucky.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Opponents were slashing 875, 900, 2375 for a 3275 OPS.
Yeah, he's allowing 243 earned runs per 9 innings, but he should be allowing 177.
He's giving his team a better chance to win.
Yeah. Yeah, so what happened with Josh Hader was on July 12, he had a 1.82 ERA, and on July 15, he had a 4.50. So it went up, it more than doubled.
I'm pretty sure he lost like almost a full win above replacement on Fangraphs. I know he lost 0.8 after the July 15th outing, and I'm sure he lost 0.2 after the July 13th one as well.
Yeah, and his FIP went up by 2. as well. It went from 1.95 to
Let me check from July 15th, from July 13th to
3.89.
15th. That's got to be like a historically bad span. Like if you go to the span finder.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like one game can really make the difference, and it's funny because
In this case, it happened to be 2 games.
He has a 4.50 ERA, but he still only has 2 blown saves in 30 opportunities.
He lost. What? Where is he? Did I click June instead? I clicked June instead. I was like, why isn't it showing? I was like, how did the worst F4 loss be 0.2 from Craig Stammen? What? No, that's not right. Oh wait, he didn't qualify, did he? Because he only threw a third of an inning. That'll do it.
Yeah, not great.
He lost 0.7.
Yikes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, the Brewers are interesting. They are currently 2 games above the Cardinals. As you mentioned, yeah, it's been kind of Burns and Woodruff was out for about a month with an injury before. Hauser's currently on the IL. He has a 4.72 ERA. Last year, that ERA was in the low 3s. Eric Lauer, his ERA has gone up a little bit. Freddie Peralta has been out. He's only made 8 starts this year, compared to like a normal, a fully healthy pace would be, he'd be at 19 starts right now, 18 or 19, but he only has 8 so far because of his injury. But I believe I saw earlier that he's going to be on a rehab assignment. So he will be coming back to the rotation soon enough.
Nice.
And yeah, their offense, looking at their offense 103 OPS plus, which is kind of what I expected from the Brewers offense. I mean, they kind of make
There's just no one that's like a breakout offensive player. I think that's a part of my issues for sure with this team is there's no one in that lineup that I fear as a pitcher.
Right. Yeah.
Like their best OPS plus has been Hunter Renfroe at 125.
Right. Yeah.
Which is not, I mean, it's an 813 OPS. He's also, he's a 305 OBP. That's below league average by quite a bit.
Yeah. Christian Yelich has continued to be an average hitter. 106 OPS plus, which is
Christian Yelich has been a big ground ball hitter this year, like more than previous years, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I noticed. I was looking at, a slightly alarming today, and Christian Yelich led in ground ball rate over a month span.
Nice. Wow.
But yeah, the lineup it's kind of what it was last year. But their pitching has not been quite the same. However, they do lead the division. They're 9 games above 500. You do have to give them their due there. And then the Cardinals are, it's Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, their defense, and then everyone else pretty much.
Yeah.
You could credit their pitching staff, but their pitching staff would not be their pitching staff without their defense.
Mm-hmm.
You see the ERA FIP differences on that whole staff, and it's pretty significant. So it's interesting. What's interesting about the Cardinals is they have the easiest remaining schedule flat out of all 30 major league teams. But the Brewers have the 10th easiest. So it's not like it's not like they have a crazy hard schedule either. So that should be that's interesting dynamic going on there. What's your outlook on these teams?
I think the Cardinals have a better chance of getting past the first round of the playoffs than the Brewers do.
Yeah.
I think that's my takeaway.
Getting past the first round. Well, I have more confidence that the Brewers starters are going to keep the Brewers in the game than the Cardinals will keep the Cardinals in the game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I think yeah, but in terms of like what we saw with the Brewers in the playoffs last year was their offense just completely shut down against the Braves.
Yeah. What I've learned from the playoffs the last couple of years is that offense really does win championships more than people realize. People love to say that pitching wins it, and yeah, it obviously helps, but you could have the best pitching staff ever, but if you score 1 to 2 runs a game, the elite offenses are gonna, be able to find ways to get a few runs off that great pitching staff that you have, and that's what we saw from the Brewers last year. They won one game in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was like a 2-0 game too. They won. I'm pretty sure.
Right. It was one single
It was a Rowdy Tellez home run, I believe.
Rowdy Tellez home run.
Yeah.
But what I will say about the Cardinals offense, they have a 108 OPS plus, team OPS plus. That's 5% better than the Brewers. If the pitching staff can find a way to shut down Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado, they're in a bad position because you look at the rest of that offense, it's not good. Not very good at all.
I have a take. I think so the way the playoffs work is that, I mean, it's all likely that an NL Central team will have the 3 seed in the in the playoffs because NL East and West division leaders are just better. I think that the top wildcard team will go into the series with the Brewers or Cardinals with a better record.
Right.
I think it's pretty obvious at this point. The Braves and Mets are both at least 5 games above.
Oh yeah. So the 4 seed?
The 4 seed, like the 3 seed will have home field advantage because they won the division, but the 4 seed will have more wins in the regular season.
Right, yeah. I agree with that.
Will overall just be a better team.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, last year that was also...
I mean, I think it's all likely that at this point that we're going to see Brewers / Cardinals versus Mets / Braves in the first round, or maybe Padres.
Well, no, it's going to be 3 versus 6, right?
Yes, it is going to be 3 versus 6. You're right.
But I mean, like, who's to say that the difference in those teams is going to be
It's possible. Right now the Cardinals have the 6 seed, but the Phillies are a half game back.
So we could see a divisional matchup in that.
We very well could.
Which I think that's pretty possible.
We would also see Padres Braves. That would be a fun matchup, especially if the Padres end up with Juan Soto.
Yeah, and what I also will say is, unless there is a divisional matchup in that first round between either AL Central teams or NL Central teams, that streak of Central teams not winning playoff series will continue. I think it's been since 2016.
Yeah, it's from the Cardinals did win one in 2019.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah,
but since 2020,
the Braves had to ruin it. Mike Foltynewicz had to ruin it.
Yeah.
AL Central has never made it since they made 3 straight World Series.
Yeah, right.
And 6 straight ALCSs, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
2011, 2012, yeah.
But yeah, I just don't see, unless maybe the White Sox get hot, I don't see any of these Central teams posing much of a threat in the
No, I think we're seeing East versus West on both sides again.
Right. Yeah. Like, it's just, I don't know what it is, but they don't look like big threats at all.
No.
So I think Brewers Cardinals, I think that could be a flip-flop in that NL Central. And then the
Mets Braves.
The other divisional race is the best divisional race. It's Mets Braves. They face each other, I believe, 12 more times this season.
That's gonna be sick.
Love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be tuned in.
That's gonna be must-watch baseball at all times. The Mets are getting DeGrom back soon, which is exciting. They're gonna finally have both DeGrom and Scherzer.
Yeah, this is going to be a great race, I think. Yeah, and then I guess we should start out by looking at strength of schedule. I I would imagine they're pretty similar. The um the Mets have the 23rd hardest schedule. The Braves have the 15th hardest schedule, so it's not crazy different.
Yep.
And they face each other 12 more times, which is pretty great. What are your thoughts on this race?
I think the Mets are up by 10 games at one point. You definitely have to keep that in mind, but I don't think, I know that, a lot of people will probably be led to believe because the Braves have cut it down so far that they're just going to take over. I think we will be watching this race up until mid to late September.
Right. Yeah. I think in their last series, the Mets won the series.
Yes, they did. 2-1.
Yeah, they took 2 out of 3 from the Braves at Truist Park. I think, yeah, they're like the Mets have, most importantly, I mean, outside of DeGrom and Scherzer, they've stayed healthy, which is very good to see. If they continue to stay healthy, that's a dangerous team for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They've seen some guys do better than they should be doing, like Taijuan Walker is doing better than he should be doing, and I think that he has a FIP under 3, so looks a little bit sustainable. Brandon Nimmo has stayed healthy and put up a very good season. And just, yeah, they've been pretty consistent down the board. They have their team OPS plus is 105. Their team ERA plus is 112. But yeah, the Braves have been surging for sure. I should look at the exact span. I'll pull it up, but they have this crazy streak going of like winning blank out of blank games. The Braves have gone 35-13 in their last 48 games, which is why they seem dangerous. And also, like, they have some guys that are doing well, who you didn't expect to be contributors, like Spencer Strider and Michael Harris as rookies, just being very quality contributors. And the guys who you would expect to be doing well have been doing well, like Austin Riley. Unfortunately, Ozzie Albies being injured doesn't help them. But yeah,
no,
the Braves are in a good spot. The Mets are in a good spot having DeGrom back, and I think it's hard to predict how this will end.
It is. Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting race all the way down the stretch. By the way, Subway Series is this weekend, probably the most anticipated Subway Series in the regular season that I can ever remember.
True.
That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. The Braves, I think in my head, I favor the Braves a little bit to finish out the season and win that division because of like they have experience winning the division. I mean, they've won 4 in a row, and 4 division titles in a row, and how they ended the season last year is inspiring. But yeah, I think, but the Mets have a fair shot for sure, especially if they have both DeGrom and Scherzer pitching. And there's a reason why they are 22 games above 500 this year.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look up and down that starting rotation, it's all guys that have been pitching very well, especially with the stuff that they can control. I think like most of them have over a strikeout per inning. Tyler McGill, by the way, he's on the injured list right now, but he has been so unlucky. His FIP is like a run and a half better than his ERA.
Yeah, not that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, a good quality race out over there. And then we can talk about the National League wildcard race. Currently, as it stands, the Braves have the first wildcard spot. They have that first wildcard spot or no, they have a general wild card spot by 6.5 games. They have the first wild card spot by 4
I
games.
think the Braves have got at least the division or the wild card pretty much locked up, as do the Mets. Like, I think the 4 seed is pretty clearly either going to be an NL East team.
Yes, I believe so too. The Padres have a wild card spot by 2.5 games, and the Cardinals have the third wild card spot. The Phillies are half a game back of the Cardinals, and the Giants are 2.5 games back of the Cardinals.
Yep.
So we haven't talked about Philadelphia yet. What are our thoughts on the Phillies?
I think they got a shot. I really do. They've been much better. I mean, they had a really tough end of the second. They've had a really tough end of the first half and beginning of the second half, but they got some games coming up. They do have they're continuing the series against the Braves tonight. Very good matchups, or at least tonight, a good matchup for them, which I'll get into later. But I mean, you got the Pirates going to Pittsburgh this weekend. That's definitely encouraging. They have guys like Kyle Schwarber has been stepping up for them, no doubt. He's struggled in the last few games, like Chris has previously mentioned. I do worry about the lineup long term, though, without Bryce Harper, I would say. Because Kyle Schwarber can't do all the work himself, obviously. Rhys Hoskins has been doing all right, but he's been very streaky. Castellanos has to pick it up. But, I mean, they've kind of been getting contributions from other guys like Derek Hall, who has played in how many games so far? 19 games. He's been doing very well for them. Like Bryson Stott, I know homered last night. I do worry about the lineup long term. I will say that.
Yeah, that's a good point for sure. Especially like a team kind of built around their offense. However, they don't have Bryce Harper, and Nick Castellanos has been underperforming over the long term. The Phillies have the 7th easiest schedule remaining. They're one spot ahead of the Mets. They have 11 games remaining against the Nationals, which is good for them, and 7 remaining games against the Reds. Also 7 remaining games against the Pirates. So
yep,
that's a good sign for the Phillies. So not a hard schedule remaining. But yeah, having Harper out long term doesn't help them out. And I think having a race between them, the Cardinals and the Giants, I'm not sure, like any direction it goes in wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I think the worry with the Phillies is depth, whether it's with their starting rotation or with their lineup. But
I mean, yeah, they are one starting pitcher injury away from disaster. And I don't want to put that out in the world because, it's all very circumstantial and I don't want to say not likely, but, it would cause a lot. It would take a lot for that to happen. But yeah, this is a team on thin ice right now, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. I know the Phillies and Cardinals don't face each other for the rest of the year. I think they've had both their series.
Mm-hmm.
So that won't be factored in. The Giants just took a sweep from the Dodgers. They're 2.5 games out. You can't rule them out completely. They've been underperforming the whole year. So I think it's a possibility they take the wild card spot. But if I had to make a prediction, I think I might still go with the Cardinals because they have the easiest schedule remaining.
Yeah, that's fair. I would go with Braves, Padres. I think are the easy picks right now. The Giants' defense really concerns me, but I don't know what they're doing at the deadline either, so that worries me. I might also go with the Cardinals. Yeah, I think the way the National League wild card is right now is probably the way it's going to stay. Yeah. I want to believe maybe the Marlins could make a run. They're 5.5 games back of the Cardinals. It's not likely, but I don't think it's impossible. I do want to throw that out there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like if Trevor Rogers like pitches like he did last year,
And their offense could be more consistent all around. Like
yeah,
Jacob Stallings this year, awful. Yeah. Jesus Aguilar underperforming. Miguel Rojas underperforming. Jazz Chisholm currently on the 60-day IL. Oh, that's so brutal. Oh, that's really gonna take a toll on that offense. Avisal Garcia has been disappointing as a signing. Yeah, the lineup is pretty bad if we're being honest.
Right. Yeah. And then
but the pitching's awesome.
Yeah, pitching's great. Yeah. Got a potential Cy Young winner for sure. And
got a guy who's almost qualified for the ERA title officially.
Yeah. For the whole season. The Giants, what's uninspiring about them is injuries. Brandon Crawford's on the IL. Evan Longoria has been on the IL. And then the defense has been concerning, and their offense has not been good. They are at a flat 100 OPS plus this year. It was a good amount better. Last year for sure. That NL wild card race, only a half game difference right now. We'll definitely keep track of it as the season continues, because the NL wild card race last year was a absolute roller coaster, because it was like it's definitely going to be either Dodgers, Giants, or Padres. They're going to be in it. And then the Padres played like the worst team in baseball. And then it was like, oh, Reds are taking it. And then the Cardinals won 17 in a row, and then they took it.
Yeah. So you never know what's going to happen.
You never know.
You just have no idea.
Yeah. Like, who knows if the Diamondbacks just win 17 in a row and come back from 7.5 out.
Yeah. If they won 17 in a row, they'd still be under 500 right now. Actually, that's a lie. They'd be 7 games over. For some reason, I misread that.
Yeah.
Shout out Merrill Kelly this season, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to him.
With the resurgence. Also shout out that whole pitching staff. Really, they've been better than in years past, I'd say.
Yeah.
Joe Mantiply, unfortunately, did give up his second walk of the season recently.
Yeah, that's a tough day.
Yeah.
Tough day for us. They had the worst record tied for the worst record in baseball last year, and now they're on pace for 70 wins, 70 plus wins. So good for them, making some improvement.
Yep.
All right. So that does it for the talk of the playoff races. Now we will get into players highlights, starting with our Tuesday, July 26, 2022 edition of How About That? Who do you have for us today?
So I went reliever diving today. And I think this guy's been mentioned on the show a couple of times, but we never talked about him in full. I'm talking about Scott Ephros, who I'm so mad because I was very close to putting him as my player to watch. But then I chose the guy that they DFA'd instead. I was like, I'm not kidding. I was this close, but I was like, oh, I kind of like Harold Ramirez. Anyway, Scott Ephros has a 2.81 ERA and a flat 2 FIP on the season. That FIP ranks 10th best among the 172 qualifying relievers throughout the year. 49.1% of his batted balls have gone up the middle. That is the highest rate among the 277 pitchers with at least 100 batted balls allowed. And opponents who hit up the middle against Ephros are hitting 259 with a 426 slugging. I know that those don't sound outstanding, but they're both below league average. So he has been getting it done better than the average pitcher. His xWOBA, xERA, xslugging, barrel percent, and chase rate are all in the top 7% in the league. And also among the 209 pitchers that have thrown at least 25 innings, specifically against righties, Ephros' K to walk ratio of 8 ranks 8th, and his 131 FIP ranks 2nd. His K to walk ratio of 9.37 at home also ranks 8th best among the 249 pitchers with at least 20 innings pitched at home, and his 138 FIP ranks 4th. So He's been excellent all around this year. That is Scott Ephros.
Scott Ephros. Yeah, he's interesting reliever. Side armor, right?
Yes.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
You want to know what I just realized?
What?
I just traded in my old phone, and that was the only way I could access the list. So I got to remake it now. I have to figure out which players we have and have not done.
Well, we have done a Cub.
Yes.
With Nico Horner.
I can figure it out. It won't take me as long as I think it will.
Yeah. I can tell you, I don't think I don't think we have done an A until today.
You did Christian Bethancourt.
Oh, never mind.
If you're thinking about the guy I was gonna look at, I was gonna use this guy as my next. How about that? But go ahead.
Yeah. I'm talking about someone who has had a little bit. He's had some long-term success, I guess you could say. Looking at I'm actually taking a victory lap today.
Oh.
I'm talking about Sean Murphy.
Okay, never mind then. In
his last 36 games, he is hitting .313 with a .909 OPS and a 160 weighted runs created plus. In this span, he is top 25 in offensive runs above average and defensive runs above average. He is 9th in F4 in this 36 game span, and he's first among catchers in F4. Out of 95 players with 100 plus batted balls in this span, he ranks 6th in expected WOBA. And also out of those 95 players, he ranks 15th in barrel rate. Along with that, most notably, Sean Murphy's strikeout rate has gone from 27% before the span down to 14% in the span. Basically cut it in half. Also, his whiff rate has gone from 29.0% to only 17.5%. And out of 113 batters with 250 plus swings in the span, his whiff rate is 13th lowest out of 113. And like his offense has been very good, and defensively he's one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. He has a 34% caught stealing rate overall in the season, which is 9 percentage points above average. He has the third best catcher pop time and the third best catcher framing this year, according to Baseball Savant. So Sean Murphy.
Shout out to Baseball Savant for bringing back catcher pop time. I think this is the first year they've tracked it since 2019. They just brought it back like very recently.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, a great comeback for sure for Baseball Savant. So now we will be going from the highs to the lows, where we're talking players or subjects that have been underperforming with our Tuesday, July 26th, 2022 edition of
Slightly Alarming.
Who do you have for us today? I am looking at a player that I mentioned earlier has not been doing well. I'm talking about Eric Lauer of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
He has given up 12 home runs over his last 8 starts with a 6.10 FIP. That is the worst among the 73 pitchers with at least 40 innings pitched over that span. Most of his arsenal has just been bad. His slider, curveball, and cutter have all been ineffective in that span. And among the 39 pitchers with at least 50 batted balls against those 3 pitches, Lauer's 329 average ranks 3rd worst, and his 629 slugging ranks dead last. Before the span, 13.6% of his batted balls were on those pitches, on sliders, curveballs, and cutters, had a launch angle above 45 degrees. That's 36% of those, 13.6% of those batted balls had a launch angle above 45 degrees. And in this span, it's down to just 7.9%. So he's not giving up as many fly balls. He's giving up a much worse contact as far as launch angle goes. The exit velocity has actually been kind of the same. So it really just has been worse placement, which, that gives you reason to believe that it won't continue. He just hasn't been getting the batted ball results that he wants. But 12 home runs over 8 starts, that's bad.
Yeah. Eric Lauer.
Slightly alarming.
For my slightly alarming, I'm looking at Nelson Cruz. In his last 19 games, he is hitting 157 with a 425 OPS and a 27 weighted runs created plus. Out of 171 qualifiers in this 19 game span, his average is fifth worst. His slugging is worst, and his OPS is the worst in baseball. And also in this 19 game span, Cruz has one extra base hit, one barrel, and no home runs, which is extremely uncharacteristic for Nelson Cruz. And along with that, he has, in this 19 game span, he has a ground ball rate of 56.0%, and that is 16th highest out of 175 players with 50 plus batted balls. So Nelson Cruz, not looking great right now. You were kind of hoping, if you were a Nationals fan, he was going to do well and you could get some value for him at the trade deadline, but doesn't seem very valuable at the trade deadline right now. You could get something, but it's more of a it's better for a buyer than a seller with the Nelson Cruz sweepstakes. So Nelson Cruz right now looking
slightly alarming.
It looks like ever since the trade to the Rays last year, age has actually started to catch up to him a little bit.
Yeah. Oddly enough, it's not been great for him. Because he was a slightly alarming for you when he was on the Rays.
Yep, he was the very last one of the season.
Yeah. So, yeah, that does it for players to highlight. Now we will get into a preview of the week ahead. Coming back after an episode off. No, that's not true.
No, it was how about that, since Slightly Alarming is doing that.
Gee.
Yeah.
Silly me. So yeah, looking at some series to watch. There's actually some pretty good series to watch, especially in the East and the Central. A series that started last night was Orioles-Rays. The Orioles are half a game back of the Red Sox, which is funny. They're 3.5 back of the wild card. And yeah, the Rays are in that wild card spot. That is Orioles-Rays is a 4-game series. So maybe I know the Orioles won last night, so they can make up some ground on the Rays. Also, you have Phillies-Braves. That one started last night as well. The Phillies are looking to emerge in that wild card spot. They're half a game out currently, and they have a 3-game set against the Phillies at Citizens Bank Park. Blue Jays Cardinals in Toronto. If you're looking for Nolan Arenado or Paul Goldschmidt, you won't find them.
You won't find them there.
That's a 2-game series between two teams with wild card spots. And you also have Brewers Twins, the leaders of the Central. I believe that is 2 games as well. And as Daniel prefaced before, you got the Subway Series. It's at Citi Field. It's the Mets against the Yankees. That's going to be 2 games. Should be interesting. Lots of good fanfare going on. Should be a good series. So all those series, some playoff implications with all of them. So take a watch.
Yeah. Looking at the daily matchups on Tuesday, you have Keegan Thompson going for the Cubs against the Pirates at Wrigley. You have Pablo Lopez and Hunter Green facing each other in Marlins Reds. You have Shane McClanahan and Spencer Watkins facing each other in Rays Orioles at Camden. You have Andre Palante versus Jose Barrios in Cardinals Blue Jays. I'm just gonna say it, Chris. I'm an Andre Palante guy myself.
All right, he said it.
I really am. Yeah. You got Mike Clevenger going for the Padres against the Tigers at Comerica. It's a former division rival of his. Jordan Montgomery versus Taijuan Walker in game 1 of the Subway Series tonight. That is a good one for sure. You have Michael Kopech and German Marquez facing each other in White Sox Rockies at Coors. Luis Garcia versus Frankie Montas in Astros and A's. That's a fun one as well. Carlos Rodon versus Tyler Gilbert at Chase Field for Giants Diamondbacks. Mike Petriello had a tweet about this one. In Nationals Dodgers, you have the uniform numbers matchup, or the uniform colors matchup. It's gray versus white.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
Perfectly enough, Josiah Gray is pitching for the road team Nationals and Mitch White is pitching for the home team Dodgers. So if you're Dave Martinez and Dave Roberts, I think you got to understand the implications here and absolutely do not wear alternative jerseys.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't think the Dodgers have alternatives anyway, so I think the Dodgers are set, but the Nationals, you gotta stick with the Grays tonight for sure. Yep. And then you have George Kirby and Dane Dunning facing each other in Rangers Mariners at T-Mobile Park. Matchup of the night comes from Braves Phillies. You got Spencer Strider versus Aaron Nola.
Yeah,
that's a good matchup.
That's a very good fit matchup. You're not gonna see. You're going to see a lot of strikeouts, not a lot of walks, not a lot of homers.
So going on to Wednesday now, you have Charlie Morton versus Kyle Gibson in Braves Phillies. Kyle Gibson has been struggling a bit. Yu Darvish versus Tarek Skubal in Padres Tigers. You have Brad Keller facing facing the Angels for the Royals at Kauffman against Jansen Junk, who was a draft pick, I believe, like a couple of years ago. Chris Archer versus Corbin Burns in Twins Brewers at American Family Field. You have Lucas Giolito and Antonio Senzatella facing each other in White Sox Rockies. Christian Javier and Cole Irvin facing each other at the Coliseum. John Gray facing the Mariners for the Rangers at T-Mobile Park. Braxton Garrett versus Luis Castillo. That's an underrated matchup in Marlins Reds in Cincinnati. Drew Rasmussen versus Tyler Wells in Rays Orioles. Adam Wainwright versus Kevin Gausman in Cardinals Blue Jays. That is a good one.
Yep.
Surprised Adam Wainwright is vaccinated. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I know that these are unrelated, but they usually kind of coincide. But he was like pro owners during the lockout, which was very weird. Anyway, Cal Quantrill versus Nathan Eovaldi in Guardians Red Sox at Fenway. Apparently the Mets and Yankees the Mets haven't announced, but allegedly it's Domingo Germán versus Max Scherzer. Which is a bit of a mismatch there if I do say so myself.
Right, yeah.
Matchup of the day comes from Giants Diamondbacks at Chase Field. It's going to be Logan Webb versus Zach Gallen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
And then on Thursday, Jordan Lyles will be going for the Orioles against the Rays at Camden. Graham Ashcraft will be going for the Reds against the Marlins. Zach Wheeler and Zach Thompson are facing each other in Phillies Pirates. A lot of teams have not announced their starters. Shohei Ohtani will be facing the Rangers for the Angels. Justin Steele will be facing the Giants for the Cubs in San Francisco. This is a bold take. Matchup of the night comes from Guardians Red Sox. It's two pitchers that have been doing very well as of late. I'm talking Tristan McKenzie versus Cutter Crawford.
Yeah, a couple of...
Very hot take, but there also just have not been a lot of matchups announced.
Yeah, a couple of young guns for sure.
Yes. Tristan McKenzie, I believe, has an 0.34 ERA over his last something starts.
Right.
Let me check that one out real quick. Cutter Crawford has an ERA just below 3 in his last X amount of starts as well.
Yeah, Crawford's been
in the month of July. Yeah, Tristan McKenzie has an 0.34 ERA and a 2.11 FIP in 26 2/3 innings pitched.
Yeah.
That's good.
And shout out to his brother Robin home runs for the Keene Swamp Bats.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that does it for preview of the week ahead, and therefore that does it for this installment of Above Replacement Radio. We hope you enjoyed this one. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and want to watch the conversation as it happens, go to our YouTube channel. It is called Above Replacement Radio, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help and smash that like button and comment below and boost that algorithm.
Hit the bell for notifications.
Hit the bell. Yeah, if only I was creative enough to put that animation at the front of every video, or literally every 2 minutes of the podcast.
It looks like only 30% of you are subscribed.
Yeah. Yeah, we're like I'm gonna have a giveaway. All you gotta do is hit the like button. Or like 10-second challenge. I need you to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and do a comment in 10 seconds, and I will do a giveaway for anyone who does that.
Yeah. And we never hear about those giveaways either.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I saw a meme about this on the internet a long time ago, but like, did anyone ever win the Danimals Cruz sweepstakes?
I don't know.
I don't think anyone ever. I think that was a scam. No one's ever. There's nothing on the internet about it. Like, no one's ever claimed to have won it.
Yeah.
Or at least had like a credible claim that they won it.
Yeah. A total scam there. But yeah, our YouTube channel. Also watch the shorts and get our algorithm up. Get some more eyes on Above Replacement Radio. Also, if you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran, and follow the show Instagram at Above Replacement Radio for all the show needs. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we hope to see you on Friday, where we are talking all the happenings in Major League Baseball once again. See you then.
This conversation is over.